I am John Helin. I am a fact checker for the Helsingin Sanomat newspaper here in Finland. And I do fact checking on images, video, and then also open source intelligence research.
Guerra in Ucraina, perché è così importante fare fact checking?
Yeah, so the war in Ukraine is an information war. There is a lot more footage coming out of this war than there has been from any other war so far. But that also means that the social media channels get filled with misinformation, they get filled with disinformation, which can affect the way people see this war. And it's sometimes deliberate efforts by these state actors, and then sometimes it is people making mistakes. But it's so important for us journalists to give the public right information about the war, which is why we also need to fact check almost everything that comes out of the war.
Bufale di un anno di guerra, può farci qualche esempio del materiale che avete analizzato?
Yes, so I've been doing a lot of fact checking over the past year. I have been fact checking, for example, the recent drone strikes on the Kremlin, but then also some less lighthearted stuff. I was geolocating footage from Bucha, and I have geolocated footage from other war crime sites. I have followed the Ukrainian advance during the Kharkiv offensive by just locating where the troops are going on this footage, stuff like that. So I'm sort of everything there is to see about this war. I have probably worked on all kinds of footage out of this war.
E qual è l'impatto dei social media su questa guerra?
Social media has a huge impact on this war. Politicians follow social media, but the public gets their information off of the social media, and social media narratives shape public opinion on this war.
On Twitter,
Instagram, TikTok, even Facebook, and there's narratives tell people how this war is going, what are the important things about the war, and they are also used by these state actors. Ukraine uses social media to sort of keep the Western public interested about the war. So the social media plays a huge role in the war in Ukraine.
Qual è stata la più grossa fake news che avete scovato?
There is very little sort of massive fake news coming out of the war. Usually fake stuff tends to be sort of smaller scale. Nowadays, Western media tends to catch it very fast, thankfully, when it's sort of these big fake narratives. But I think that it's been sort of very fun, for example, to talk about the Admiral Macrae footage that was made in game called Arma 3. There's been footage from these sort of air fights that's been made in other games. But the sort of most of the fakes, most of the misinformation can't often be proven fake, but it's rather there is a lack of proof about stuff. For example, early war narratives about Russian paratroopers being shot down in their planes, things like that. There is just sort of sometimes there is just no evidence, which is a lot less sexy than when you can just prove this is wrong. But then we have Russian channels who have posted combat footage that can be set somewhere else. For example, back into 2015, but those don't tend to make the news, so it's not always sort of these big debunking things don't really happen at the moment, which is very sad.
Quali sono gli strumenti che si possono utilizzare per scoprire la verità?
Yeah, so we have, at simplest, we have Google. Google works really well because you can, search for a thing, has this happened before? But then we have Google Earth, we have satellite images. There is a lot of satellite images available on the internet. Some are free, some are commercial, so you have to pay for them. There is a lot of we have tools where we can use reverse search of images, reverse search of video. We can check images for Photoshop editing, stuff like that. There is a lot of tools that can help us determine if these images, if this footage has been tampered with, if it's old, if it's new.
Quanto è difficile smascherare una bufala?
We don't really get these big debunking fakes nowadays off of this war at least that much, because both sides have learned how to do propaganda well. So the sort of general fake that gets onto my table tends to be a video that we can't verify, that we can't say for sure where it's happened, if it's actually the people they are saying that are on that video. So it's often these weird videos just tend to stay in that area of I don't know. But if you can't verify it, then you don't print it, which is where the fact checking comes in. How they do that nowadays, how they fake these videos, is that they don't film it in a place that is recognizable. If you have just a forest behind you, then it's, you just don't have landmarks you can put on the map, for example. If you're in a room, then you don't have landmarks you can put on the map. If you have actors doing stuff that you can't verify they are actors, that's the fake footage that is coming out now. So it's stuff that you can't reliably say that it's true, which is when you, as a journalist, have to go, well, this might be fake, so we can't use it. Which is a big part of my job now, is just going, I can't say if it's real, so we probably shouldn't use it.
Perché la geolocalizzazione è così importante per smentire le fake news?
There is a lot of footage coming out of this war, and geolocation is often the easiest way of proving has something happened where they say it has happened, when we can tie that into the geolocation is so important, because once we can tie this footage into a singular spot, singular location, that is a lot easier to determine has it happened where they say it has happened, which is the first part of verifying has something actually happened. If it is not happening in the place where it's claimed to have happened, if for example the Russian troops aren't actually going through the town that is claimed, then the whole narrative around that video, around that footage, just easily falls apart. But when we can verify where it's been taken, we can be sure that it probably has something to do with the war, and then we can start focusing on that narrative itself.
Che cosa ci può dire di questa nuova minaccia che è l'intelligenza artificiale?
That's a great question, because we've had people posting AI footage onto social media off of this war, thinking it's real. So in the future, in next few years, that is gonna be a huge problem for us. But then we just need to get tools that can detect if footage has been done with an AI. We have some of those tools now for images, but the role of those tools is just going to get bigger and bigger over the next few years. I think. Yeah.